Today we're going to talk about welding and the basics of welding, essentially, right? And back when we first started, I learned an acronym for it. It was called TAPS. It's TAPS. Stands for temperature, angle, pressure, and speed. Each one of these is key components to your welding because it plays a part in the proper welding happening, right? If they're all not lined up together, it doesn't work right. Temperature, that differs from the plastic. Each plastic has a different melting temperature and has a certain threshold where it will get to that point where it melts, and that's where we do the welding, is where it melts. So temperature is very important. The angle, when you're feeding a rod in, right, you don't want to be like feeding this way, right? You don't want to be like feeding this way, right? It's a straight down angle, right? 90 degree straight down angle. Then you also want to worry about pressure, right? How much pressure do you want to put into it, right? So when you're pushing down, just enough pressure where you start seeing a little bit of resistance on your welding rod. Start seeing a little bit of a bend, and all that will do is it's just enough to kind of keep feeding the weld. All right, remember, this is how we get the weld achieved. So the more of this we lay into it, the more weld we can do. All right, so to get this to lay into it, we gotta liquefy it. We gotta liquefy this and the surface at the same time, and then we push it down into it. As we push down into it, it pools together and it bonds. All right, and then the speed is determined by essentially your heat source, right? With me, I use a torch, MAP gas torch. It's extremely hot, so the speed is actually almost dictated by how well I feel the welding rod is laying down. If I'm not happy with it, I'll slow it down and make sure the welding rod is really pooling and really just flowing really well, right? Not sitting high, not having high peak at the middle of the weld point, right? We want a low peak, nice little bubble over the top. That's what we want it to look like. We want it to flow down, melt down in, then we know we got good fusion. All right, so when you're ready to weld, all you really have to do is decide what kind of welding rod you want to worry about. We've already figured out, by this point you should already figure out what type of plastic you're dealing with, right? Most of it's going to be polypropylene. There are other plastics that we do work with. I was working with ASA this morning, and it was not working well for me. So, you know, you just have to kind of be open to working with a lot of different types of plastic and be open to just being creative and exploring. All right, like, it doesn't always work out exactly how you want it to. I'm sure you'll see in a lot of my videos that I'm doing, sometimes it looks like I stumble a little bit. It's not. It's just, it didn't work out as I expected, and so I rethink the process and I come up with my second solution. All right, and if that doesn't work, then I keep doing that and I keep attacking it until I find something that works. Plastic has many different avenues where you can go down, many different choices you can do when you're fixing stuff. So it's very versatile. But when it comes down to the welding, there's steps that you must proceed to follow to get proper fusion. Without them, it won't work. And so using the TAP system, even though it's almost buried in the algorithm at this point where I'm at, for anyone getting going, it's very essential to really look into that. TAPS, temperature, angle, pressure, and speed. And honestly, it's all dictated by your heat source. If you're welding with a welder, your heat source is a little more limited. It's going to take a little bit longer, and so that's all going to have more accurate numbers to it, right? When you're welding with a torch, it's a fast, very on-the-fly process, and you kind of have to go with it, right? So make sure you understand what source you're welding with, and you understand how to use it first. Follow for more of those videos, and I'll show you how.